What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to break down the NFL running backs for Week 1's main slate on Draftkings. We got a great week in NFL coming up this weekend, and I'm just so excited that it's back. I already put up my quarterbacks video yesterday. We got the receivers video coming out later. The Thursday night football video is done and up for you, so be sure to check out all of those. If you're new to this channel, make sure to leave a like on the channel. Or leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notification bell, leave a comment. All those things really help me grow. We had a ton of growth throughout NASCAR and NBA season, and now NFL is here, and I just want to continue to grow and hopefully get even bigger. So thank you guys so much for your support. If you want to subscribe to more of my content, you can subscribe to my Patreon. For only $10 a month, you're going to get basically an article for every single position every single week, where I pretty much break down the matchups for all the relevant players. I'm not about to break down the fifth string running back who's not gonna play. Just basically the guys seen in a video for the most part, maybe a few extras here and there. And for every single position, along with an article for all three main showdowns, Thursday, Monday, Sunday night football showdowns. And then I'm also going to be giving you my top stack rankings, my top matchup rankings, my cash tier rankings, and GPP stuffs too. So be sure to come check it out for only $10 a month. If you want to follow me on social media, Twitter's at DFSNateLane, Instagram's at @NateLane_. But I think that's really all I got to say on all that stuff. I think it's time to get into the players for the running backs for this week. We're going to start out with the Buffalo Bills. And what I'm going to do here is I'm basically going to just break down the backfields if there's two backs on one team. If there's one back, just pretty much expect, unless I say otherwise, that they're the only guy getting the ball. But I'm going to break down how I think the backfield's going to work, and then I'm also going to break down the offensive versus defensive line matchup, because that's very important to running backs. So up first, we have the Buffalo Bills, where Devin Singletary, going into last offseason, I think a lot of people figured, including myself, that he was just going to be the lead guy in Buffalo this year. But then they decided to draft Zach Moss. Zach Moss is a very talented running back in college, and I don't think that they just drafted him for nothing. He's going to get some usage. Maybe not a ton early in the season, but I believe by the end of the year, it's going to be a split backfield there in Buffalo, especially if Zach Moss is going to get the goal line carries. So Devin Singletary 5,400 scares me a little bit because he's not a guy that's going to be getting the ball on the goal line a ton. It's going to be Zach Moss. Zach Moss is going to be the guy getting more touchdowns. So I do prefer playing someone like Zach Moss on this is just a normal game. But I'm really not too interested in either of them, honestly, because this offensive line defense line matchup's not as good as you would think. The starting offensive line for Buffalo is Deion Dawkins, Quentin Spain, Mitch Morse, Brian Winters, and Cody Ford. And the starting defense line for the Jets is Terrell Basham, Henry Anderson, Quinnen Williams, Jordan Jenkins, and Steve McClendon. And it actually grades really bad. This is actually the Jets' run defense actually should be pretty solid this year. So the Jets. So this is not really the best matchup for Buffalo on the run side. And let's also not forget, this is the lowest total game on the slate as of right now. So I mean, it's not really a game where we want to maybe get as many players in anyway. But the Jets are a team that you attack from the air, not from the ground. And yeah, so you don't want to attack the Buffalo Bills from the ground or the Jets from the ground. You want to attack them from the air with the passing. So this isn't a place I really want to go. They are favored in the game, so the game script does look well for them. They're pretty heavy favorites, but still just not my favorite plays on the slate. I think there's just other guys I'd rather get to. I'm not really too interested in Singletary. I think Zach Moss is fine if you want to play him in some GBPs, but not either of them for any sort of cash lineup or single entries or anything. But up next we have the Miami Dolphins. They're going up against the New England Patriots. It's a very tough matchup. Offensive line, starting lineup is Austin Jackson, Eric Flowers, Ted Karras, Robert Hunt, and Jesse Davis. And two of those guys are rookies, so they have to go up against the defensive line in New England of Dietrich White Jr., Bo Allen, Lawrence Guy, Chase Winovich, and Adam Butler. That's just a tough matchup. I mean, it's a negative matchup over here for their defensive line. They are not favored in the game, so game script doesn't go well, especially for Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard's someone I'm really not interested in at all, because I think he's just going to be game scripted out. So I'm really not too interested in Jordan Howard. But Matt Breida, I think, does give me a little bit of interest, because they're going to be playing from behind, and he is a pass-catching back, so he might get some pass-catching ability in this game. But I really just don't think Miami's going to do well in this game, honestly. I think this defense is just going to lock them down. But if there was one running back from Miami I think I'd have some interest in tournaments is Matt Breida, but nothing for cash. Up next, we got the New England Patriots on the other side of this game, and as of 10 minutes ago, the New England Patriots beat writer said that Sony Michel was going to get eased back in. So they said expect 4 running backs in New England. and to be active. So I'd expect Michelle, White, Burkhead, and I don't even know who the other one's going to be because Damian Harris is on IR. I don't want any of these guys, like, at all. They're just all, like, going to get a small amount of usage. They're just, like, I don't even, like, I mean, it's a good matchup for them. Like, if you want to go look at the matchup thing, it's a positive matchup for New England. It's a pretty solid matchup. And they are a game script. They're projected to be ahead, but, like, who's going to get the ball? Like, I don't know who is going to be running the ball a ton for New England. So I just don't really want to get any of these guys at all. There's just no one I'm interested in. James White's too expensive. Like, if he was, like, 5,000, like, Breida, I'd have some interest, but at 6,000 for James White, I don't want to go there. Next, we have Le'Veon Bell for New York Jets playing the Buffalo Bills. Starting offensive line is Mekhi Becton, Alex Lewis, Connor McGovern, Greg Van Roten, and George Fant. And the defensive line is Jerry Hughes for Buffalo Bills, Jerry Hughes, Ed Oliver, Mario Addison, Trent Murphy, and Vernon Butler. It's a negative matchup for the Jets here. And they're not. So, Adam Gase, man, just hates Le'Veon Bell. Hates him. I just not 100% that Le'Veon Bell is going to be like a bell cow this year. I'm really not. Like, they signed Frank Gore. They drafted LaMichael P. Ryan. Like, there's just no, like, 100% evidence, in my opinion, that Le'Veon Bell is, like, the bell cow. It's the lowest total game on the slate. They're playing from behind. Nothing from last year really indicated to me that Le'Veon Bell was a game script independent running back. I just don't think this is the spot for him. It's a bad matchup. Nothing plays out right here for Le'Veon Bell, so I don't really want to get to him. I just don't trust that he's going to get all the ball a ton here, and it is a tough matchup against the Buffalo run defense. Up next, we have the Baltimore Ravens running game. J.K. Dobbins, Mark Ingram in the backfield. The Ravens' starting offensive line is Ronnie Stanley, Bradley Bozeman, Matt Skura, DJ Fluker, and Orlando Brown Jr. And the starting defense line for the Browns is Olivier Vernon, Larry Ogunjobi, Sheldon Richardson, Myles Garrett, and Adrian Claiborne. It is a positive matchup, slightly positive matchup for Baltimore Ravens here. Very good run blocking unit in Baltimore, which is why, I mean, you saw Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram so effective last year. The problem here is now they have J.K. Dobbins, so this is going to be someone that's going to eat into Mark Ingram's usage this year. And Mark Ingram really wasn't that high usage of a player last year anyway. You get like 15 carries a game. Now Dobbins is here. I don't expect either of them to like get a ton more carries than the other. I don't think Dobbins is going to be that used early on in the season, but I still think he's going to have enough usage. That's not going to make me want to get to Mark Ingram. It's a positive game script. They should be ahead by a good bit. If there was one I would go to, it'd probably be Mark Ingram. In tournaments, I think he's an okay option in tournaments, but in cash games, I don't want to go to Mark Ingram at all. $5,500. Up next, we have Joe Mixon for the Cincinnati Bengals. I love Joe Mixon season long, but week one, I hate him. So, starting offensive line for Cincinnati, Jonah Williams, Xavier Su'a-Filo, Trey Hopkins, Billy Price, and Bobby Hart. Now, it's bad, but Jonah Williams was a first-round pick last year, like a high first-round pick, and missed all of the season. So, he's supposed to be good. We'll see what happens, but he's expected to be a very good running back. So that one's one that that doesn't make it as bad, but still, the defensive line for the Chargers is just one of the best in the league. Melvin Ingram, Linval Joseph, Justin Jones, Joey Bosa, and Uchenna Nwosu. It's just a very, very good defensive line. I think this is the worst matchup for me out of any. Worst matchup, individual matchup for the offense versus defensive line is Joe Mixon's offensive line versus them Chargers. So. Negative game script as well. Like, it's not good for him. He's going to be playing from behind. Didn't really get a ton of usage in the passing game last year. So I just don't think that Joe Mixon is necessarily the guy that we really want to get to this year or this week. I think there's going to be weeks where I love Joe Mixon, but this is not one of them. I wouldn't play him in cash at all. In GBPs, he's fine, but there's just other guys in that price range I think I'd just rather get to other than Joe Mixon. Up next, we have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in Cleveland. So last year, when Kareem Hunt came back from Nick Chubb's usage dropped a little bit. I mean, it was still high. It was like about 18 to 20 touches per game, but it wasn't like the 25 that we were seeing from him before Kareem Hunt came back. So, but Nick Chubb's only 6,500, so that's okay. He's priced softly. But this is a game where they're going to be playing from behind against Baltimore. I mean, let's look at the matchup first. Starting offensive line for Cleveland is Jedrick Wills Jr., the rookie, Joel Bitonio, J.C. Treader, Wyatt Teller, and their big-time signing this season, Jack Conklin. The Baltimore defensive line consists of Tyus Bowser, Calais Campbell, Derek Wolfe, Matthew Judon, and Brandon Williams. Very good defensive line. One of the highest total games on the slate, but they are expected to be playing from behind. It is a negative matchup. So Nick Chubb's probably might get phased out of this game because he's just going to be playing from behind. But Kareem Hunt, on the other hand, is someone that definitely I have some interest in because he's a pass-catching back. He's very effective on the pass. He's one of the best pass-catching backs in the entire NFL. he's going to be getting some usage even when they are behind. So I think Kareem Hunt is someone I'm definitely got some solid interest in this week. Someone I definitely want to play. I mean, yeah, it's a tough matchup against Baltimore, but if they are going to be playing from behind, I do want Kareem Hunt a good bit in tournaments. I would still play Chubb in tournaments just in case, because I mean we did see last year in week 2, Cleveland destroyed Baltimore. Nick Chubb just went off. So, and I personally think Cleveland's a lot better this year than they were last year. So this stays a close game. Nick Chubb ends up being a solid play. But I just don't. I mean, that's just not what the lines say. So Nick Chubb's someone I'll get some interest in tournaments, but not a ton. But I do like Kareem Hunt a good bit. Up next, we got for the Indianapolis Colts, we got the triple-headed backfield: Nyheim Hines, Marlon Mack, Jonathan Taylor. Well, let's see. Nyheim Hines, first off, is a pass-catching back, and that's about it. But he's $4,000 on Draftkings, so that makes me very interested in him because he is someone who, well, I don't know about this week. They're playing Jacksonville this week, and they figured to blow them out, and they should. I mean, the Colts, I think, are going to make the playoffs this year personally, and Jacksonville's going to be the worst team in the league. So, Nyheim Hines, I mean, he's probably just going to get phased out because they're going to be ahead by so much. So, not this week, but I do think he's a pivot off of someone we're going to talk to later who could be an interesting pivot. But then Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor, I guess they're going to split carries to start the season, but I really expect Jonathan Taylor is going to be the guy. And honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if he's just a guy by the end of this game. And when they get to the red zone, Jonathan Taylor's getting the inside of 5 carries every single time because he's a big, powerful back where Marlon Mack really isn't. So, and they're playing behind like the best offensive line in the league, in my opinion. Anthony Costanzo, Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, Mark Lewinsky, and Braden Smith. And the defensive line for Jacksonville is Clavon Chason, the rookie, Avery Jones, Taven Bryan, Josh Allen, Timmy Jernigan. This is, I think, my second best matchup on the day. Yeah, that's my second best matchup overall on the day is the Indianapolis Colts players are running for offensive line versus their defensive line. So definitely have some good interest in Jonathan Taylor. Marlon Mack will probably stay away because I don't think he gets like the inside of 5 carries. It's very similar to what we talked about earlier, like Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. Still different players, but I just think Jonathan Taylor is the one who's getting all the looks inside, so that's probably where I want to go. Up next, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, where they traded Leonard Fournette, and Raquel Armstead's out for a little bit. He's on the COVID reserve list, so who knows how long he'll be gone for. So you have Divine Ozigbo and Chris Thompson. Chris Thompson is the guy I'm interested in this week. Jacksonville's going to be playing from way behind the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, the Colts are a lot better team. They're going to be playing from behind. And Chris Thompson is a guy who gets a ton of usage in the passing game. Pretty much all his usage is in the passing game. It's been like that his whole career. He's been in Washington all up until this year. And the head coach, while he was in Washington, was Jay Gruden, who loved to use him when he was healthy. But now Jay Gruden is offensive coordinator in Jacksonville, which that's going to end up being a disaster. But like Chris Thompson is probably going to get a good bit of usage, probably when they're behind and if they're not behind. But I'm expecting them to be behind. So Chris Thompson is definitely someone that I do have some solid interest in. We want to go look at the matchup. It's not going to be great. Cam Robinson, Andrew Norwell, Brandon Linder, AJ Cann, Jawan Taylor. That's the offensive line. And the Colts defensive line is Ben Bonogo, DeForest Buckner, Danico Autry, Justin Houston. Yeah, it's a negative matchup, but you're going to be playing from behind, so Chris Thompson is someone that I definitely have some sort of interest in. All right, up next we have Josh Jacobs for the Oakland Raiders in a game that is one of the higher total games against Carolina. Very, very bad defense, but starting offensive line for Oakland is Colton Miller, Richie Incognito, Rodney Hudson, Gabe Jackson, and Trent Brown. And the starting defense line for the Carolina Panthers is Brian Burns, K'Wan Short, rookies Derek Brown, Yetur Gross-Matos, and Zach Kerr. It's a slightly negative matchup for them, but nothing I'm really too worried about at all. This is a game where this is going to be one of the higher scoring games on the slate, higher total games overall. I think that Josh Jacobs is in a position where he's going to be the bell cow in Oakland this year. I don't think there's really any debate there. I do like getting into some Josh Jacobs on his slate, $6,800. I think he's a fine play in cash. I think he's a great play in GPPs. I don't think he's going to be too highly owned because I think a lot of people are going to target Carolina through the air, as you probably should. I mean, today Eli Apple got ruled out too, so like they're just Carolina's depleted and their defense is terrible everywhere pretty much. I mean, I just think Josh Jacobs is probably in for a good run here. I mean, we saw the Panthers' rush defense last year just be horrible anyway, and I expect it to be pretty similar to that this year. We'll see how much of an impact Derek Brown makes immediately, but he's supposed to be. That's what they drafted him for, to stop the run, because weren't they bad at that last year? But I think Josh Jacobs is a pretty good play. I definitely like into some of him. Austin Eckler is an interesting one. So let's go with the matchup first. Austin Eckler, offensive line. Sam Tevi, Dan Freeney, Mike Pouncey, Trey Turner, Brian Bulaga. This is really not a good offensive line. It's That's their biggest weakness in LA, in LA. And the Cincinnati defensive line is Carl Lawson, Sam Hubbard, Carlos Dunlap, Geno Atkins, and DJ Reader. But this is one of the worst matchups on the day. I have it as the third worst matchup on the entire slate. Is this Cincinnati run defense is actually pretty solid. Most of them were hurt last year, and now they're all back, so it should be a solid run defense. But the thing about Austin Eckler, last year when Melvin Gordon was in his holdout, Austin Eckler during those weeks was the number 2 running back in fantasy football, number 2 behind McCaffrey. So he was really, really good. He's going to have a ton of usage. He's going to get usage on the ground and in the air, and they are favored in this game by a good bit. I think the Chargers should win this game. So yeah, Austin Eckler projects as definitely someone that he's in a good game theory, he's in good everything, good usage, but the matchup is tough. So, I think that's going to be an interesting one. For me, Austin Eckler, if he starts getting a ton of ownership, I'm probably going to stay away. But if he's low owned, I definitely want to get some Austin Eckler. All right, let's get into what is going to be the 2 highest owned players on the entire slate. Well, we'll see about Antonio Gibson, but we'll start with Miles Sanders. $6,300. He is behind an offensive line that consists of Jordan Mailata, Isaac Seumalo, Jason Kelsey, Jason Peters, Lane Johnson. Those core 3 have been great for years now. And the Washington Redskins defense line consists of who I think is probably about to be the best defensive end in the league: Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, Darren Payne, Ryan Kerrigan, and Montez Sweat. It is the best positive matchup on the slate. This is the best matchup for me, is the Philadelphia one. And Miles Sanders, $6,300. There is no way that Miles Sanders should be $6,300. It's absolutely insane. I don't know what Draftkings was thinking, pricing him at that. All summer long, people were like, oh, they're going to sign Devontae Freeman. They're going to sign Carlos Hyde, and it's all going to ruin Miles Sanders' usage this year. None of that happened. So Miles Sanders is the guy in Philly. It's a lower total, but they're favored by a ton of points here over Washington. They should get into a game script where Miles Sanders is just running it out. So I definitely love getting some Miles Sanders on this slate. And then Antonio Gibson for Washington. So Darius Geis got arrested, kicked off the team. Adrian Peterson got released the other day. And now everyone's on Antonio Gibson to be the guy. Well, but wait a second. First depth chart came out for Washington about literally 20 minutes ago before I recorded this video. J.D. McKissic is listed as starting running back right now. So what's that going to do here? Everyone's still going to hype up Antonio Gibson. Is that going to make Antonio Gibson's ownership go up or down? For me, this determines on what I play. First of all, he's a good play in cash if his ownership does skyrocket. But if his ownership stays down, maybe tamper him in cash, but then I want him in tournaments because he's a high upside player. He's a player who's going to get the ball, who has upside, who's going to get the ball passed to in a game script where they have to pass the ball. He's going to get it a lot. I'm not worried about him not getting the ball when they're down. So I think he's in a good game script spot. The matchup sucks, but that's okay. I mean, we know Washington's going to be bad this year. But yeah, Antonio Gibson, this could be a spot where he just explodes. But it also could be a spot where he's probably only going to get the ball 10 to 12 times a game. I don't think he's getting it a ton. So that's why I'm saying if his ownership stays down, I want him in my lineups. If he's going to be really popular, there's definitely ways that he fails, but there's also ways that he goes off, and you need him in your lineups. So that's really going to be my thoughts on Antonio Gibson. Just be on the look for ownership stuff. That's going to be an important one because now that McKissic's in the starting lineup, I think that makes it a little bit tougher. Up next, we have the Chicago Bears against Detroit. Overall, I'm not really too interested in anyone from Chicago. All right, so David Montgomery's questionable. We'll see if he plays. I don't think he's going to play, honestly. But if he does, this is a bad matchup. Charles Leno Jr., James Daniels, Cody Whitehair, Jermaine Ifedi, and Bobby Massey is the starting offensive line. The starting defensive line for Detroit's pretty solid. Trey Flowers, Nick Williams, Danny Shelton, Romeo Okwara, and Jamie Collins Sr. So this is a negative matchup for Chicago, and it's a negative game script. They're supposed to be playing from behind, so I just don't want to get to as much of any of these guys, honestly. And if Montgomery misses, Ryan Nall, Tariq Cohen probably get the carries, but I just hate the matchup. I think it's going to be a by committee team. Cordero Patterson's also listed as a running back now, so it's going to be a by committee backfield if Montgomery misses. So I just don't really want to get to many of those guys. Up next, we have Kerryon Johnson, DeAndre Swift in Detroit against the Chicago Bears defense. The Detroit starting line is Taylor Decker, Joe Dahl, Frank Ragnow, Jonah Jackson, and Halapal Vite. Yeah, that's a fun one. Try to pronounce that name. And the defense line for Chicago is Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, Roy Robertson Harris, Robert Quinn, and John Jenkins. This is a slightly negative matchup, so it's really not as bad as everyone thinks. This Chicago Bears defense is not really as great as everyone wants to make them out to be. They were great that one year, but then after that, it's just Akeem Hicks went back down to earth. Kyle Fuller went back down to earth. The linebackers are still pretty solid, and of course Khalil Mack is, but that's really about it. I just think this is going to be a split backfield. They also signed Adrian Peterson, so I figure he's going to get some mix in there. They're projected to play from ahead. I just don't know who's getting the carries. Like, I don't think Kerryon Johnson's getting a ton of carries this year, so I'm just probably going to stay away from the Detroit backs altogether. It's just their usage just isn't what I would like it to be if I wanted to get to these guys. Up next in the Green Bay backfield, we have Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. So A.J. Dillon's also projected to start as RB3, and I think all three of these guys are getting touches now. So this scares me a lot for Green Bay, especially for Aaron Jones, like season-long wise. For DraftKings, I think he's fine, just not someone I want to go to in cash like at all. Green Bay's starting line is David Bakhtiari, Elgton Jenkins, Corey Linsley, Billy Turner, Rick Wagner, and the starting defense line for Minnesota is Yannick Ngakoue, Jaleel Johnson, Hercules Matsafa, Danielle Hunter, and Shamar Stephen. It's a positive matchup for Green Bay for sure, but they're not favored. And Aaron Jones really only got usage in the passing game when Jamal Williams was out last year, so Jamal Williams is actually a guy I'm a little more interested to go to. I think I'll still get some ownership on Aaron Jones because I know Green Bay's not favored, but I think Green Bay's a better team, so I would not be surprised to see them winning this game, in all honesty. But Jamal Williams gets a lot of usage in the passing game, so if they get behind, I think this could be someone who gets some usage. Definitely someone I want to put in some tournament lineups, but not someone I want to play in cash at all. Neither of these guys do I want to play in cash. I think Aaron Jones is fine because the matchup's pretty good, but this isn't a guy that I want to like build lineups around. Like Josh Jacobs is $100 less. I'd rather just play him. So, but Aaron Jones is still fine for tournaments. Up next, we have Dalvin Cook against Green Bay. Minnesota Vikings starting offensive line consists of Riley Reiff, Pat Elflein, Garrett Bradbury, Dakota Dozier, and Brian O'Neill, and the Green Bay defense line's very good. So Darius Smith, Kenny Clark, Dean Lowry, Preston Smith, Tyler Lancaster. This projects as a negative matchup for Minnesota, but Minnesota is projected to be ahead right now. They're at home in a dome. A home favored running back in a dome is always a pretty good option to go to. Just on basic things to go off of. So I think Dalvin Cook's in a good spot here. He's $7,900. If you don't want to play McCaffrey in cash, I think Dalvin Cook's the one you go with. I want to play McCaffrey in cash, but Dalvin Cook would be. I would try to, if you're making cash lineups, you should play McCaffrey in cash. But if you really don't want to, you have to play Dalvin Cook then, just because he's going to get the ball at least 20 times, probably more like 25, 30. He's not a game script dependent running back, so he's going to be out there with the ball a lot. Matchup's kind of rough, but definitely someone I do still want to get some exposure to. And I mean, this Green Bay defense last year spiked. Like they were really good. Like Zadarius Smith had a year. Like it's just not normal. They haven't been like that their whole careers. So this could be a 1 year thing. So I would not be surprised for their run defense to go back down to earth a little bit. So I think Dalvin Cook's a very solid option here. So now we got the Todd Gurley for Atlanta, $6,100. Jake Matthews, James Carpenter, Alex Mack, Chris Lindstrom, and Caleb McGarry starting offensive line. And the starting defense line for Seattle is L.J. Collier, Benson Mayo, Jaron Reed, Bruce Irvin, Poona Ford. And that projects out as a slightly negative matchup for Todd Gurley. But, I mean, this is going to be a shootout game. Like, this is a game where I just want pieces of every spot. Like, I want a ton of pieces of everyone in Atlanta. And everyone's going to be going after Julio, Hurst, and Ridley, as they should. But not really a lot of people are probably going to go after Gurley. We've seen Gurley have explosion games in the past. I don't see why this could be any different. So, I think at 6,100, Todd Gurley can end up being a very solid option here. Definitely someone I want to get to in some tournament lineups. Not a guy playing cash because he's probably not getting the ball more than 18 times a game this year. And if it's going to be a shootout, they're probably passing a little bit more. But Gurley can be used in the pass game. Although we haven't really seen Atlanta, since Shanahan left, use running backs in the passing game. So I don't know how much that's really going to happen. But, I mean, it is Gurley. It's been Devontae Freeman, who sucks, but is just, not good in the passing game. Gurley actually is. So we'll see how that goes. But I think Todd Gurley is a solid player to go after here. Christian McCaffrey, look, if he's going to get the ball about 30 times a game, just play him. I don't even care who they're playing. And Oakland's defense sucks. So just McCaffrey, there you go. I mean, play him in cash, play him in tournaments. He's just good. He's a safe play. He's good. I doubt he sucks. He's game script independent. It doesn't matter. If they're down by 40, they're still giving McCaffrey the ball a ton. So I definitely do want to go to some Christian McCaffrey. Of course, I'm never going to tell you that's the one player all year I'm going to say play McCaffrey every week. Alvin Kamara for New Orleans Saints. This is someone that a lot of people this week are probably going to tell you, I don't think you should play him. The Bucs have a really good run defense. But let me hear you out. Yeah, this is a negative matchup for the Saints. But Alvin Kamara isn't a running back that just runs up the middle every time. He's not Dalvin Cook. I mean, well, Dalvin Cook doesn't do that either. He's not David Montgomery. He's not Leonard Fournette. He's Alvin Kamara is one of the best, most versatile pass catching backs in the league. Like, he's about to get paid a freaking massive contract. I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if I look at my phone after this video is over and it says Alvin Kamara signs one of the richest running back contracts ever. But that's happening before the season starts. Alvin Kamara, he isn't a guy that just runs up the middle. If there's a running back that this won't affect, this run defense, it's Alvin Kamara. This is someone who's probably not going to get a ton of ownership because of that. You're going to see that little red number on DraftKings that people aren't going to want to go to. But Alvin Kamara is someone I definitely want some. He's healthy now. Like, the last time we saw Alvin Kamara healthy, he was torching the Texans in week 1 last year. Torching them. We know how good he is. He's healthy now, behind a good offensive line, but a good run defense for Tampa, so that's fine. I still want to get some Alvin Kamara because I think you just get some passes to him. Like, pass him the ball, he's going to take it off. He's got a high floor. He's only $7,200. If you want to play him in cash, play him in cash. I don't hate that. I probably won't go there for my cash lineups, but if you want to play him in cash, play him in cash. No one is saying not to. So, Alvin Kamara, definitely someone I want to get to. Tampa Bay Bucks, guys. Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette, I'm not going to play either this week. They're just too expensive for me. $6,000, $5,200 for guys who we don't know their roles in the offense. Like, is Leonard Fournette actually going to play this week? And now we may hear stuff as the week goes on. Like, this is only Tuesday, so stuff could come out that'll change that. But Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette are just two guys I'm just not overly excited to get to, especially Fournette at 6K. I just don't want to play him. It's a negative matchup against New Orleans run defense. Really negative matchup anyway. One of the worst ones on the day. So Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, definitely not going after him. Kenyon Drake in Arizona faces really tough matchup in San Fran. This one's a tough one for Drake to start out season, but they're not favored. They're like underdogs by a good bit. And Kenyon Drake's going to be playing from behind, so he's going to get we already know he's a high pass catching back. He's another game script independent player who's going to be getting the ball no matter what. So if they're down a lot, Kyler's probably going to be looking at Hopkins and Kirk, but Kenyon Drake's still going to be involved. He's not just going to be thrown on the sideline like a Derrick Henry would be. So Kenyon Drake is still someone I definitely want to get, even if I'm pretty sure he torched this defense at one game last year. I think when that stretch when Kenyon Drake just went off at the end of the year, I'm pretty sure he had like 40 against the 49ers, and it's the same defense. Honestly, minus one run stopper and getting a rookie in there. So Kenyon Drake's someone I'm definitely have some interest in regardless of the matchup. But only in tournaments. Don't play him in cash. Don't do that. And honestly, in tournaments, don't even play a lot of him. He's not going to be high owned. Just get a little bit, some sprinkles of Kenyon Drake. Tevin Coleman, Raheem Mostert for the San Francisco 49ers. So this is a positive matchup for them, I believe. Actually, it's negative. Never mind. I don't even like them anymore. Like, it's just, I don't know. Who do we know is going to be the guy? Is it going to be Raheem Mostert? Is it going to be Tevin Coleman? Are they just both going to get 12 carries a game? Like, that could very realistically be what it is. Tevin Coleman's in a contract year, too. He might want to, get more touches anyway. So, Raheem Mostert, first of all, $1,500 is just way too much for someone whose role I just don't know in the offense. Like, I don't want to pay $1,500 for someone who might just get the ball 12 times a game. I know he was, ridiculously efficient last year, but that's going to regress this year. Like, there's no way that he's going to be that efficient last year. Tevin Coleman at $4,200, we've seen him beat a bell cow. We saw him as the bell cow against Minnesota, where he freaking went off in the playoffs. So, that was literally the week before the game where Raheem Mostert just went off against Green Bay. Everyone remembers that. Everyone remembers the Green Bay game, but no one remembers Minnesota when Tevin Coleman went off. So, at $4,200, I definitely want to. I think that one's the better play. I don't think, and only in tournaments. I'm not playing any of these guys in cash, but Tevin Coleman in a GPP is a solid option. And then finally, we're going to close with Chris Carson at $6,200 against Atlanta. When we go look at this matchup, it is a very negative matchup against that Atlanta very underrated defensive line of Fowler, Jarrett, Davison, McKinley, and Charles Harris. You attack Atlanta for the air. Their secondary is garbage, really bad. And so you got to attack Atlanta through the air and not really on the ground. It used to be 2 years ago, it was you attack Atlanta on the ground. That's completely changed, and now you attack Atlanta through the air. So I don't think Chris Carson's in for that much of a huge game. He does get some involvement in the pass game sometimes, but he's still someone I'm not really just that excited to get to. But yeah, I think that's really all I got to say in this video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe on my channel. I got a wide receiver video coming out later on today, and I got more videos coming out for you for the rest of the week. So be sure to stay tuned for all of that. Hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Make sure to check out my NBA video today if you want to make some money on NBA too, and I got some NASCAR stuff coming out as well. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Thanks, guys.